Hi students, welcome to our chemistry class. Our chapter name is acid, base and salts. In the last few classes we discussed about this chapter and now we are going to discuss the further topics. In the first class we discussed about indicators. Indicators. What is this indicator? Why we are using this indicator? We are using this indicator to identify a particular substance is acid or base. Acid or base. Or this will help us to identify is it neutral also. But here the problem is this, it is unable to identify the concentration of this. That means some acids are very strong acid, some are weak. Or some are concentrated and some are dilute acid. So, using the normal indicators means the natural indicators and the synthetic indicators. This all we discussed in our previous class. So, for this natural indicator and synthetic indicator, we can only identify is it acid, base or neutral. But it is unable to identify is it strong or weak or is it dilute or concentrated. Like things, it is unable to identify. But using one type of indicator, it is possible, and that indicator is universal indicator. Universal indicator. So today's topic is universal indicator. So as said in the introduction, this universal indicator helps us to identify is it base or acid, that's okay. But still here we can also identify its concentration or the power. That is the thing for this universal indicator. And we can say this universal indicator is the mixture. It is the mixture of several indicators. We can say this universal indicator is the mixture of several indicators. That is the first thing about this universal indicator. The next thing is this universal indicator gives different colors, for different concentration. This universal indicator gives different colors for different concentration. That means for the litmus paper, its color is red, and when it turns to blue, it is blue, and there is having no shade variations or nothing. For the red, it will convert to blue, or the blue will convert to red. But using the litmus, it is unable to identify the concentration. But here, for different concentration, they are giving different colors, and that's how we are identifying the concentration of this acid and base. For this, the universal indicator is there in liquid form and also in the strip form. In your syllabus, you are to study the pH scale or the pH paper. That is the thing you want to study here, and we are using this pH scale for identifying the concentration of the different substances. That means for the acid, for the base, for the neutral, all the things we can identify the perfect value of concentration using this pH scale. First of all, we want to define this pH scale. What is this pH scale? We are writing small letter P and capital letter H. pH scale. What is the definition for this pH scale? It is a scale for measuring hydrogen ion concentration in a solution is called pH scale. So, this pH scale is a scale. It is a type of scale. What is the scale doing? It is for measuring the hydrogen ion concentration in a solution. That means we already said that for the acid it is having H plus ion is present there, and for the base it is having OH minus is present there. So actually we are measuring the hydrogen ion concentration. For a strong acid it is having higher concentration of H plus, and for a weak acid it is having less concentration of this H plus ion, and for a strong base it is having higher concentration of OH minus, and for a weak base it is having less concentration of OH minus. So we can identify this using the pH scale. Actually this pH scale, our pH paper is a strip, a piece of paper that is normally in a particular dark color, and when we dip it in acid it will give a particular color, and if we are dipping it in the base then it will give another color. So don't think that in your textbook you can see the pH scale is there in the page number 26. Don't think that this pH paper is something like in rainbow color. Normally it is having a normal color with like a paper, but when we are dipping this in acid we only get a particular color. If we are dipping it in water, for water it is having another color. And in your textbook the diagram is in the figure 2.7 in page number 26. That is only some rough demonstration of the colors. And for example, I am dipping this in this is a normal pale color, and when I am dipping it in the water it is giving a particular color. And actually for this, with this pH paper we have one scale is there, and like the figure in your textbook there we have a diagram, and they demonstrated different colors and give number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 like numbers are there. And so when I dip this in, suppose this is acid and this is HCl, hydrochloric acid, I am just supposing, and when I am dipping this pH scale paper or pH paper in this, what happens is that it is turned into red. This is all assumptions. It is turned into red. And then I will take this strip of paper and go and put it in the scale and compare which is the color similar to this. When I compare this, I found that this is similar to the number 1. So I can say the pH value for this acid is 1. Now the question is, what is this 1, what is this 2, and how we are identifying this using this number. So for this pH value it is having certain limit is there. Now we are going to discuss that. What is the limit for the acid, what is the limit for the base, and what is the pH value for the neutral solutions. That is our next thing we are going to discuss. So, for the pH, before that we said that this pH is written in small letter p and capital letter H. And what is this P denotes? This P denotes for potence. That means power. Actually we are here measuring the power of the hydrogen ions in the liquid. That We are measuring the power of hydrogen ions. Simply means that I already said that we are measuring the concentration of H plus ions or hydrogen ions. So that's why it is called this pH scale. This P is for potence and this potence is the meaning for the power. We are measuring the power of hydrogen in the solution. Now about the pH scale number. We have 0 to 14 is there within this scale. And at the center I am notating the 7 here. So for the neutral solutions, like water, for the neutral solutions, the pH scale give the value as 7. If the value is 7, then we can say it is neutral solution. And the value which is less than the 7 is what? Acid. And the value which is greater than 7 is what? That is base. So we can say that when the value is decreasing from 7, we can say that acid is strong. For example, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here this is strong acid. When the digit is getting lesser means the concentration of H plus ion is getting decreased. H plus decreases. That means the acid is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. When it is near to the 6, it is very mild acid or it is very weak acid. In the similar way, here you can see that the arrow head is to here. That means when the value is from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, like that, when the value is increasing to the 14, our OH minus concentration is getting increased. That means this 8 is weak base. This is weak base. And when the number is getting increased, then what happens? Our concentration for the base is also getting increased. That means this is strong base. Strong base. And so in your textbook you can see one graph there in the page number 25, the figure 2.6. There you can see that they plotted the value of H plus ions. That means at this 0 the H plus ion concentration is very higher. That means the H plus ion concentration is very higher. And then it is getting decreased and then like this. That means even if for the 14 there is having some sort of H plus ions are there, but there is higher the OH minus value and that's why we get it as base. Don't think that for this 14 it is only having OH minus ions. It may have H plus ions but it is very less in the quantity, but the OH is in higher value and that's why it behaves as OH or the base. So this is for the H plus ion concentration. Here it is higher and when it is moving to this value it is getting lesser and here it is very little. And what about the OH minus? For the OH minus at this point this is a very higher value and in the similar way it is getting decreased and at this point it is getting into very minimum value. So at this point at the 14 this base is very strong and at this point it is very weak and that's why there we get it as acid. So that is the figure you can see here in the page number 25. Just observe that. So nothing is there, just understand the 7 is the neutral and when we are decreasing the value of pH from 7 to 0 that is acid, and for the 0 that is the best acid or that is the acid having the maximum concentration or strong acid. And when we are moving from 7 to the 14, this 14 is the highest concentrated base. or that is very strong base, and at near to the 7 that is weak base, and near to this 7 for this acid that is also weak acid. Only the thing. I hope it's clear. So we can say higher in the hydrogen ion concentration, that means higher in H plus ion concentration, then its pH value is less. pH value is less. The same thing I just mentioned in a single statement. Next we are going to do one experiment using the pH paper and with different solutions. That is the next thing, and you can see the table in the page number 26 at the top side. Now we are going to do that, and before one thing I just like to tell you something, that this is only some values of assumptions or something like some not a proper value. We are just referring the net and get these values, and it will different for different concentrations and all, and we are just taking one rough value. Don't think this is the approximate value and this is only the value, not like that. We are just taking it as for what experimental manner, and we are considering it for the learning purpose only. So the table is this. This is the solution color of the pH paper. Then the value and the nature of the solution. That means is it acid, base or neutral, that is the thing. So the first one is this saliva. Saliva, that is before meal. And what about the color? That means we are just taking a beaker and collecting some drops of saliva and dip the pH paper in this saliva. That is, we are collecting the saliva before meal. And when I observe this, I get the color as green. Approximately the color will be like this, green. And when we observe this, we get the pH value as 7.4. We get the value as 7.4. And we already said that approximately about the 7, that is neutral. It is having little bit more with the 7. But still we can say it as very small amount of base concentration is there, but still we can say it as neutral. That is the first thing, saliva. And the next is saliva again after meal. And then again collecting a beaker, taking a beaker and just collect the saliva and dip the pH paper there. Now you can see some difference in the color of the pH paper, and the color now we get it as yellow, and the pH value is 5.8. The pH value is 5.8. What is this 5.8 means? It is acid, or it is having acidic in nature. That means we already said that for the 7 it is neutral, and for here it is acid, and for here it is base. So this 5.8 is something having acidic property. Now the question is, what is the difference between this before meal and the after meal? The thing is this, when we have our food, it is having some bacteria needed to digest this, and that bacteria is producing some sort of acid in our stomach, and when the food particles are there left in our mouth, that will damage and that bacteria will affect, and that's why they form some sort of acid. That's why the acidity is getting increased in our saliva. We will discuss it in later in the area of everyday life pH. Something is there in the syllabus. So now just understand that the pH value for before food saliva and after food saliva is having different values, and this is approximately neutral or very little base concentration is there. We can say it as neutral, no problem. And for this bird, this is what? Acidic in nature after the food, and that is because of the presence of bacteria in our mouth. That is the thing. The next is lemon juice. Lemon juice. Don't get confused with the lime water and lemon juice. What is the lime water? Lime water is the chunnambu vellam. That is what? Lime water. And this lemon juice is what we are making it with the lemon. The water, lemon, the sugar, salt, like that. So that is the lemon juice and the lime water. Both of the things are entirely different. Don't think both of the things are same. So this is what? Lemon juice. And when we are measuring the color, we get it as pink. We get it as pink. And the value for pH is, this is the pH value. So the pH value is here is 2. What is this 2? 2 is acid. It is something strong acid. So it is acidic in nature. So for the lemon juice, the color is pink and the value is 2, and we can say it as acidic in nature, and it is little concentrated acidic. That is the lemon juice. Next is colorless aerated drink. That is the soft drinks. When I just collect some of the thing and measure the color, I get it as lime green. Lime green. Lime green means something light green. That is this lime green. And when I measure the value of the pH, I get it as 6. That means still we have acidic nature. We have acidic nature, but it is something weak acid. It is approximately there with the neutral, but it is having some H plus ions are there, and we can say it as weak acid. That is about the colorless aerated drink. The next is carrot juice. Carrot juice. For this carrot juice, we get it as yellow or green. That means for some carrot we get yellow, for some we get green. That is the approximate color change. And here we get the value as about 5.6. 5.6 means still it is present. It is there in the acidic region. This carrot juice is also acidic. The next is coffee. Is the coffee acid or base? Now we are going to check. When we take the coffee and check, we get it as the yellow color. We get it as yellow color, and the pH value is 5. The pH value is 5. Then where it is situated? It is in the acidic region. Acidic region. That means this coffee is not, don't think that it is like sulfuric acid or nothing. It is something having very small acidic nature. That is about the coffee. And the next is tomato juice. I hope you just wrote it in your textbook, and now I am going to complete the table with the further things also. Now I am going to rub this. The next is tomato juice. The tomato juice I am taking in a beaker and just dip the pH paper. We get the color as beige. This color color is something like reddish orange. That is this beige. So the value is this 4. Where is this 4 located? In the region of acid. So it is acidic. Tomato juice is acidic. And the next is tap water. Tap water. And here, when I use the pH paper, the color is this green or light green. Actually, it is unable to say a proper value for this tap water because for each region the pH value for the tap water is different. That means the salts dissolved in this water is different in different regions. So I am just taking some value for a particular tap water. Don't think that all tap water is having this value. These all are just assumptions. So that is for the tap water. It is having a value 7 and we can say it as neutral. Some variations are there. Sometimes it may be 7.1, 7.2 or 6.9, 6.8. Like the values may be. Some variations will be there. And so I will show you one thing. Here we are saying that this coffee is having yellow color and got the value 5. And I am taking a glass of water and making this coffee. So I get the value 5. Now I am going to make this coffee with the same cup of water, but I am adding 2 spoons of coffee powder. Then what happens is that then the value of the pH will be getting changed. Not saying that very higher variation is there. Small variation with the point variation will be there. So that means our content or our sample is getting depend upon this value. We are making the concentration of this is higher, then our value will be also getting changed. So don't think this is the final value for this. When we are making the coffee with more and more powder, then our value will get changed or the concentration is getting changed and also the color and the value is also getting changed. Still, we will get a value within this 0 and 7 for this or within this 7 and 14 for the base, like that. It is something in that region. That is the only thing. So this is about the tap water. The next is NaOH, sodium hydroxide. Here, when we are doing the experiment, we get it as purplish blue. That means some sort of blue. Purplish blue. For this blue, in this pH paper, we have different blue are there. Light blue is the, purplish blue is the, dark blue is the, violet is the, like different shades are there. That's why here we are writing it as purplish blue. And for this NaOH, we get the value as 14. Here we are selecting the concentrated sodium hydroxide. So the value is 14 and then we can say what is the nature of this? It is base. Actually it is strong base or it is basic in nature. And the next, the final thing is this HCl, our hydrochloric acid. When we are taking the sample of hydrochloric acid and actually it is concentrated hydrochloric acid, and when we are checking this, the color of the pH paper, we get the color as red, deep red. And the value is 1. What is the 1? Where it is? 1 is the, and that is actually a strong acid. So it is acidic. Or very strong acid with the pH value 1 means it is very strong acid for this for the hydrochloric acid. And for the sulfuric acid also, if it is concentrated, we will get approximately 1 or 0.5 range will be there. So this is all about this table and we are talking about the pH value. This is the pH value and the color variation in the pH paper. This is the thing about this and how we are, no need of by hearting these all things, just understand how we are finding this. And in your textbook you can see they just gave 5 names of things and their pH values. Just remember that. It is there in your textbook now. So They are just giving it as in a proper manner, and so you just want to remember that values in your textbook, and this is some of the samples, only the thing. And in this region you want to remember 7 is the neutral, less than 7 it is acidic, and greater than 7 it is basic, and when the value is getting decreased from 7 it is getting strong acid, and when the value is getting increased from 7 that is strong base. The only thing we explained here is this. Now we are moving to the next thing, that is the importance of pH in everyday life. Very simple topic. Actually no need of explanation is there in this region, you just want to read it. Still I will explain it. The importance of pH in everyday life. What it means is this, that in our everyday life we want to check the pH. That means in our daily life we are having the acidic or the basic attack is coming in our life, or this acid or base is having certain role in our life. That is the thing here mentioned. The first thing is this, our body. Our body is having a particular pH. That means in our body we have water is there, blood is there. So in our body it is having a particular pH. And one thing is that if there is having high value of variation with the pH value, then our body won't survive this variation. That means our body is working within a limit of pH value. The limit is this 7 to 7.8. Approximately the pH for our blood is 7.6 something. So the pH value is varying from our body from 7 to 7.8. It is different for different person. Small variation is there, but still our body do not able to survive high variations with the pH value. That means when it is reduced, our body will get into acidic, or when it is increased, it will get into basic nature. So that's why we are saying our body only survive a narrow range of variation with the pH value. That is the thing. The next, this is about the body, the first thing. The next is about the acid rain. Acid rain. We know normally our rain is having some sort of acids, and some sort of things will be dissolved from the atmospheric gas, particles, dust, all the things are there. So we are not saying the pH value of rain is properly 7. There is having some sort of variations, and if the pH value is getting less than 5.6, then we call that rain as acid rain. That is, when the pH of our rain is getting decreased than 5.6, then that rain is acid rain or acidic rain. So what happens when the acid rain is coming? The acid rain falls, then it will mix in our river and all our surface and all. So at that time this acidic rain or acid rain will come to our river, sea and all, and then it will affect our aquatic life, because that will increase the acidity of the river. And as similar as human beings, these animals also have a limit for the pH value, and when that is crossed, then they will get died. So that is happening in the acid rain. So you want to remember this value is there in your textbook. So for the acid rain, when the pH value is decreased than 5.6, then we can say it as acid rain. That is the second thing. The next is this about the atmosphere of Venus. About the atmosphere of Venus. So the atmosphere of Venus is similar to our Earth? Not at all similar. And the difference is this: at the surface of Venus, the atmosphere contains the gas carbon dioxide. more of the gas present, there is carbon dioxide and they have no nitrogen or oxygen like that. I said that it is having no existence with the simple form. So, this carbon dioxide is there with higher temperature. Higher temperature means not a simple value. It is about 467 degrees Celsius. 467 degrees Celsius higher temperature, and then what happens is that this carbon dioxide and then the sulfur dioxide everything will get into react, and finally therefore sulfuric acid we are talking about the surface of Venus. So the problem is this, I already said that their temperature is very higher, 467 degrees Celsius. So these sulfuric acid particles get evaporated and they will form into the cloud. So we can say at the Venus they have sulfuric acid clouds. And when I look the pH value, don't get a proper value for that. It will be there between around the 0 to some sort of 4 between the value, maybe. I just observed the net and I don't get a proper value for the pH. That means here we know they have layers of atmosphere are there and the pH value. That means the concentration of acid is getting different in each layer. That's why we have no proper pH value for that. Just understand that at the surface of the Venus we have sulfuric acid clouds. It is formed with the reaction of the carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide and all within the atmosphere, and with the high temperature they present around 467 degrees Celsius. This gas is all getting evaporated and form the clouds. That is the thing here. That is the third thing about the pH in everyday life. The next is pH of soil. This is very important, that the pH of soil is depend upon the growth of the plants. That means for the cabbage, for the plenty cultivation of cabbage, it needs a particular pH value. And for the orange, it is having another pH value. And for the paddy, it is having another pH value. That means for each and every crop, the pH value for soil is different. And we want to check it. For that, it is very simple, that just take a test tube and then collect some soil in this. I am just taking some soil in this test tube, and then this is soil, and add some water in this. We are using distilled water. And then shake this. We are shaking this mixture for some time. Then we can see the soil is getting dissolved. Not dissolved, they are just getting mixed with the water. And now we are going to do that. Take a filter paper and filter this and collect the water in another beaker. That we are not taking the soil, we are collecting the mixture of water with some of the salts are there present in our soil. Our aim is to dissolve the salts present in the soil, and we are checking the pH of that salts. So this water is getting mixed with the salts in the soil, and now we are collecting this water. And what is the name of this water? We are filtering this, and that is filtrate. Filtrate is the liquid that we get after filtering. That means the soil particles are left in this filter paper and we get the water here. So now we are going to do the pH test, or we are finding the pH number or pH scale using this liquid, and when we use the filter paper, for the pH paper and dip it in this, then we get a particular value. If it is acidic, we get a value below 7. Or if it is basic, we get a value greater than 7. And we are not able to give a proper value. It will be around or in between 3.5 to 10. That means when I am collecting the soil from my garden, it is having a particular value. And when you are collecting soil from your garden, you will get another value. That means the soil is different, and this also depends upon the fertilizers we are using in our soil. So, we are not able to give a proper value for this, but it will be there within the range of 3.5 to 10 approximately. So, that is about this, and this is important. That means some soil is not favored for some sort of cultivation or for farming. At that time, we will collect some soil and test the pH of the soil, and by considering if the soil is more acidic, we want to make the acidity less by adding some sort of basic substances. For example, our soil is having some sort of acidic nature, then we will add some sort of new basic substances, and finally this acid and base will get neutralized, and then what happens? It will cancel the effect of the higher acidic substances. Or if our soil is there with more base, what happens? We want to add certain substances which is having acidic nature, and when they are getting reacted, again we get cancelling the effect of the base and the acid. So that's the thing we do. And that's why we are saying that we want to check the pH of the soil, and after that we want to add the fertilizers to maintain the acidity and basicity of the soil for getting more effects of the plants or for getting more crops. These are the things about the pH of the soil. It is there in your textbook. Just read it. Only simple things are there. The next is about the pH in our stomach or our digestive system. What is the thing that digests our food? We already said that having some bacteria and all, but what is the fluid that digests our food? In our stomach we have hydrochloric acid is there present in our stomach to digest our food. And so this also having some pH value. And approximately the value of this is from 1 to 3.5. The pH value of this hydrochloric acid that present in our stomach is approximately from 1 to 3.5. Approximate value. And so the one thing is this, normally we need this acid to digest our food, but sometimes they form excess amount of acid, and that will cause pain and irritation to our body. That means excess acid present in our stomach, what we call it as? We call it as acidity. We call it as acidity. And then how we can reduce the effect of this acidity? We can reduce the effect of acidity by taking some substances of basic nature. And that is, we are having the tablet of antacids. Antacids. What is this antacid? Is it acid or base? Don't think that there is having one acid in the name and think this is acid. This is not acid. What is this? This is a tablet or something having the basic nature. Basic nature, this antacid. So, when we feel acidity, we have antacid tablets for getting cancel the effect of the acid, because this antacid is what? A basic substance. And also one thing is the, or we can have magnesium hydroxide. Magnesium hydroxide. So, these are the things about the pH in our digestive system. Just understand that in our stomach we have hydrochloric acid is present, and the pH value is the something different with the value 1 to 3.5. The range is this. And when there occurs excess acid in our stomach, what happens? It goes acidity, and then we want to reduce it, or we want to cancel the effect. Then we want to take the basic substances in our stomach, and we want to take some substances of basic nature, and that is antacid tablets or magnesium hydroxide like that. This is about the pH in digestive system. Next is pH and tooth decay. pH and tooth decay. What causes tooth decay? Is it acid or base? Who causes tooth decay? Tooth decay is caused by some sort of bacteria. And this bacteria is producing some sort of acids, and we can say this tooth decay is because of the production of the acids. That means the tooth decay is caused by acids. Actually, in our tooth, it is having enamel. No. This enamel is one of the hard substances that is present in our body. And it is not dissolved in water or something, but this enamel is getting corroded. Corroded means it is getting damaged when it is contacted with the acid. So we can say when the pH present in our mouth is getting less than 5.5, then our enamel starts to get damaged. When our pH in our mouth is getting decreased than 5.5, what happens? Our enamel gets damaged, and that damage is what? Actually the tooth decay. And who makes decrease the pH from 5.5? Who decrease is this bacteria. That means when we have food in our mouth, some sort of food particles, sugar and all will left. And if we are not cleaning our mouth properly, what happens? They will left in our mouth, and that will cause damage to our teeth because of this. That means the bacteria will come to decompose these food particles left in our mouth, and then what happens? This bacteria will produce acid at the same time when the decomposition occurs. So our teeth will get damaged with the production of this acid. That means it will increase from this 5.5 range, and then that will damage our tooth. So for that we want to clean our mouth with clean water after having food. So this is about the pH and the tooth. And also, what is there in our within our toothpaste? Is it acid or base? If we are brushing with the acid, what happens? Our teeth will get damaged. So, actually within our toothpaste generally it contains basic substances present in our toothpaste to nullify the effect of the acid that is produced in our stomach and the mouth. That means when there is having some sort of acidic things in our stomach, the effect will be there still in our mouth because of the saliva. So, we are using the toothpaste of basic nature for nullifying the effect of the acid in our mouth to protect our teeth. This is all about the pH and the tooth decay. And also there is something is left in this region, and that is the animals and plants through chemicals for the warfare. That means some animals or plants are producing some chemicals, means the acid or base, to protect them from enemies. Some of the animals are these: honeybee. Honeybee, its sting have an acid. Its sting have an acid, and when it bite, what happens? It will cause pain and swelling. Why? Because of the injection of some sort of acid in our body. So, actually that is the protection method for honeybee, to injecting the acid to our body. And it will cause pain and irritation. And how we can cancel the effect? We can cancel the effect by taking baking soda on the stung area. That means affected area, when we rub with baking soda, what happens? The effect of the acid will be get decreased. That is about the honeybee. And also in your textbook they are talking about one plant, that is the nettle leaves. This nettle leaf is a type of leaf which having some sort of string hair at the leaves. That means it is having some sort of thorn-like things on this, and when we touch that, what happens is that these leaves are producing or inject methanoic acid in our body, and we will feel extreme pain. And how we can cancel this, or what is the remedy of this? The remedy is this: we want to rub this area with leaves of dog plant, DOCK, dog plant. So we want to rub this affected region with the leaves of dog plant. This nettle leaves are having the methanoic acid. Now the question is, what is there in the dog plant? The present is base. So when this acid and base is getting react, what happens? The effect of the acid is getting cancelled. So that's why we are rubbing the affected area with dog plant. This is one of the remedy for that, and in your textbook they just talk about the nettle leaves and all. You just read it. That's all. So today we discussed about the pH scale, pH value, and the pH in everyday life. These are the things we discussed in today's class. Very simple things are there. You want to read your textbook and also want to read this pH in everyday life. Some of the things are there mentioned. I all covered all the region. So please read it. And we will meet in our next class with further topics. Thank you.